Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast, Advanced English Listening Practice topic name is Stop Translating, the Secret to Thinking in English. So, welcome to our deep dive. Today we're tackling something that I think really trips up so many advanced English learners.
It's that invisible wall, isn't it? That feeling of being stuck.
Exactly. You have all the vocabulary, you know the grammar, but then in a real conversation, there's that lag.
That little pause while the gears are turning in your head.
Yes, and that is the habit of constant internal translation. It just stops you dead in your tracks and keeps you from feeling truly fluent.
And that's what we're here to talk about. We're calling it the translation trap. It's this subconscious process where you hear English, but you don't process it in English.
You route it back through your native language first.
You do. You process it there, you formulate your answer there, and then you try to translate that answer back into English before you even say a word.
That sounds exhausting just describing it.
It is. And it's the single biggest bottleneck to communicating naturally and fast.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack that. We're going to look at the psychology of why it happens, what it's, costing you mentally.
And most importantly, we're going to give you some really concrete, actionable strategies to rewire your brain.
To build that direct pathway so you can start thinking directly in English, or TDE as we'll call it.
I like to use an analogy. Imagine trying to run a marathon.
Okay.
But you're carrying a heavy backpack, a really heavy one, and it's filled with dictionaries and grammar rule books.
Every step would be a struggle.
Every single step is labored. You can't be spontaneous. You can't be quick. Today, we're going to help you finally take off that backpack.
I love that. Let's get into it. So where do we start? Why are our brains so insistent on carrying this heavy backpack in the first place?
Well, before we can move forward, we really have to understand why we do it. And it all comes down to two things, really. Comfort and control.
Okay, that makes sense.
Let's start with what I call the native bedrock. Think about it. Your native language isn't just a set of words.
No, it's how you think. It's how you learned about the world.
Exactly. It's the entire scaffolding of your mind. It's where you process emotions, where your foundational concepts live. So when you're faced with a whole new complex system like English, especially under pressure,
Your brain just wants to go home.
it just wants to go back to what it knows. It reverts to that comfort zone. It translates everything back into that familiar, secure structure.
And I think we have to be fair here. At the very beginning of learning, that's not a bad thing, is it? It's almost necessary.
Oh, absolutely. It's a necessary bridge at first. When you first learn the word table, you have to connect that sound to the concept of a table that already exists in your head, probably through your native word.
It's how you build the initial vocabulary.
It is. It's the initial temporary bridge. But the problem is when that temporary bridge becomes a permanent highway that you feel you have to take for every single thought.
It stops being a tool and starts being a prison.
A permanent hindrance. That's a great way to put it. And the reason we hold on to it is because of what I'd call the illusion of control.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Learners translate back to their native language because they believe it guarantees perfection. They think, if I can just formulate the perfect, grammatically flawless sentence in my own language first,
Then I can just convert it into English and it'll be perfect there too.
yes, they're chasing accuracy. They want to be sure they've understood everything perfectly and that their output will be correct.
But that's based on a really flawed assumption, isn't it? The idea that languages are just, interchangeable codes for each other.
Entirely flawed. That's the heart of the problem. Languages aren't plug-and-play systems. They are unique ecosystems.
Their own rules, their own flow, their own cultural baggage.
For sure. Think about idioms or even just basic sentence structure. A direct word-for-word translation almost never captures the real nuance or the natural flow.
Can you give us an example?
Of course, let's say your native language places the verb at the very, very end of a long sentence.
Go.
You might form this beautiful, sophisticated idea in your head, perfectly structured for your language. But then when you try to just swap in English words while keeping that structure,
It would sound incredibly awkward to a native English speaker.
it sounds stiff, unnatural, sometimes just plain wrong. You sacrifice the natural rhythm of English just to maintain control in a language you weren't even speaking.
So you get perfect accuracy,
Yeah.
but in the wrong language.
Spot on. And this brings us to the real cost of this process, the cognitive load.
The price you pay for running this translation program in your head all the time.
A very, very high price.
Okay, so let's break that down. If the output is awkward, the process itself must be just devastating for your fluency and your speed. Let's use that computer processor analogy you mentioned.
Yeah, that's a helpful way to visualize it. Think of your brain's language center as a computer processor. For a native speaker, the process is super efficient.
What?
Pretty much. A thought happens, it's immediately formed into an English response, and then you speak. It's one smooth, optimized process. It's instant.
It's automatic, like you're not even thinking about it.
It's procedural memory. It's like breathing. Now, let's look at the learner who's stuck in that translation trap. The thought occurs. That's step 1.
Step 2 is translate that thought into your native language.
Correct. Step 3. Formulate the perfect, detailed response in your native language.
Then step 4 is the big one. Translate that entire response back into English word by word, probably checking grammar rules as you go.
And then finally, step 5 is actually speaking the words out loud.
That's so many steps. It's not just complex. It feels like it would require massive mental energy to switch between those tasks.
That's the key phrase right there, context switching. Every time you jump from language A to language B and back again, you are burning through your brain's executive function, your focus, your planning. All of it is being consumed.
It's like trying to run 4 different heavy programs on an old computer at the same time.
And this overload, it shows up in very clear ways that just kill your fluency. The most obvious one is slower speech and hesitation.
Those long pauses.
Those pauses, the ums and uhs, they aren't always because you don't know the word. They're often the sound of your brain buffering. It's processing all those steps.
And in a fast conversation, a 1-second pause can feel like an eternity.
It can completely derail the interaction. Secondly, you get reduced comprehension. Your brain's working memory is finite, right?
Right. You can only hold so much information at once.
So if you're using all of that memory to translate word by word what someone is saying to you, you're not actually grasping the overall meaning. You miss the tone, the bigger picture.
You hear the words, but you miss the music.
Beautifully put. You might even forget the beginning of their sentence by the time they get to the end because all your resources were focused on decoding, not understanding.
I've definitely felt that. I remember trying to have a conversation in a language I was learning and just feeling completely wiped out after 20 minutes. That mental fatigue is real.
It's the physical symptom of that cognitive overload. And of course, this whole process just destroys any chance of spontaneity. Quick wit, emotional reactions, easy banter, that all requires an instant response.
Which is impossible if you're running a 4-step translation process for every single thing you want to say.
Impossible. And finally, it leads to those awkward phrases we talked about. The final product is often unnatural because it's built on the blueprint of a different language. So the whole system needs to be bypassed.
Okay, so we've established the problem. The translation trap is heavy, it's slow, and it's holding you back. So let's define the goal. What does it actually mean to be thinking directly in English?
This is the destination. TDE is the skill that really separates someone who is just proficient from someone who is truly fluent.
It sounds a bit like a superpower, thinking in another language. But let's bring it down to earth. I like the driving skill metaphor.
It works perfectly. When you first learned to drive, especially a manual car, you had to think about every single action.
Oh yeah. Okay, push the clutch in, move the stick to first, gently lift the clutch, add gas. It was so mechanical.
That's declarative memory. You're recalling facts and rules. But now, when you drive, you don't think about any of that, do you?
Not at all. My hands and feet just do it. It's automatic.
That's procedural memory. The skill has become internalized. And that is TDE. It's making English your automatic procedural thinking language.
So the core definition is really about bypassing your native language completely, creating a separate, independent pathway in your brain.
That's it. You form thoughts, you process what you hear, you understand ideas, all directly within the English framework. No middleman, no translation step.
So let's give some clear examples. If you see a dog running in the park, the TDE brain doesn't think, oh, there's a dog.
No. The thought is just, look at that dog. The visual concept links directly to the English word.
What about something more abstract, like an idiom?
That's where it's even more crucial. If you hear someone say it's raining cats and dogs, a TDE brain doesn't picture animals falling from the sky and then try to figure out the meaning.
It just instantly accesses the concept. Heavy rain.
The English phrase connects directly to the English concept. Same with reading a book. With TDE, you're not translating sentence by sentence. You're just in the story. You're experiencing it directly through the language.
Okay, that's the goal. But I think we also need to clear up some common misconceptions about what TDE is not. People can get a little worried about this.
That's a really important point. First and foremost, TDE is not about forgetting your native language.
You're not trying to erase your first language.
Not at all. This isn't about replacement, it's about addition. You're building a new room in your mental house, you're creating a separate parallel system for English. Your native language is safe and sound.
And second, this is not an instant fix. You can't just decide today and be a perfect TDE user tomorrow.
No, it's a gradual process. You are literally forging new neural pathways and letting the old, inefficient ones fall into disuse. That takes time, it takes consistency, it takes deliberate effort.
This is a workout for your brain.
It's exactly like a workout. And finally, and this is important for advanced learners, TDE is not about never ever translating again.
Oh, that's interesting.
Even very high-level bilinguals will sometimes consciously translate. Maybe if they're comparing a complex philosophical idea or a very specific technical term between two languages.
So translation becomes a tool, not a crutch.
Precisely. The goal is to make translation a deliberate option you can choose for high-level analysis, not an unconscious necessity for ordering a coffee.
Okay, that clarifies things a lot. So now for the big question, how do we actually do it? Let's get into the practical, foundational strategies for rewiring the brain.
Let's do it. We're going to break this down into a few phases, starting with the easiest entry point.
Phase 1. Where do we begin?
We begin with something that a lot of advanced learners might think is too basic, but we're going to reframe it. It's often called labeling, but let's call it conscious re-anchoring.
Re-anchoring. I like that. It sounds more active.
It is. The idea is to build a new direct anchor between a concept and the English words for it. So you look around you, but you don't just think the noun. Don't just look at your desk and think desk.
You add more to it.
You add a descriptive layer. You think, this is a cluttered wooden desk. Or you look at your coffee and think, I'm drinking hot black coffee.
So you're forcing your brain to form a short, descriptive phrase in English directly linked to what you're seeing.
You're creating a direct connection. Object leads to descriptive English phrase, no stopover in your native language, and you can progress this really quickly.
How so?
You move from just describing things to expressing your thoughts or plans about them. So instead of hot black coffee, it becomes, this coffee is getting cold, I should drink it faster.
Or looking at a pile of laundry and thinking, I really need to fold that pile of clean laundry later.
Yes. You are generating a constant stream of single, relevant thoughts in English. And the key instruction here, the most important part.
Let me guess. It has to be silent.
It has to be silent. This is an inner exercise. We are training your internal thought process. Speaking is great for pronunciation, but this is about retraining the mind itself.
Okay, so that's phase 1. Conscious re-anchoring, building those initial direct links. What's next?
Next is where the real magic happens. This is the most powerful technique of all, cultivating an inner monologue.
Becoming your own narrator.
You've got it. You develop a continuous, silent, running commentary on your life. Your actions, your plans, your observations, your feelings, all of it, all day long, happens in English in your head.
So as you're getting ready in the morning, you're not just on autopilot.
No, you're narrating. Okay, I'm waking up now. I need to stretch for a few minutes. I wonder what the weather is like today.
Or when you're driving to work. That car just cut me off. The sky looks like it might rain. I need to remember I have that meeting at 10.
Exactly. You can even use it to work through more complex ideas. I need to figure out how to respond to that email. The main point my boss made was valid, but I disagree with his conclusion about the budget.
You're basically forcing yourself to have fully formed thoughts, from simple to complex, entirely in English.
You are. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A common concern comes up here.
I think I know what it is. What if I'm making mistakes in my head? Am I not just practicing and reinforcing bad grammar?
An excellent and very valid question. And this is where the strategy is important. When you're doing the monologue during the day, your goal is flow. It's continuity.
Not perfection.
Not perfection. If you stop to correct every little mental error, you'll break the flow and go right back to that slow, analytical translation mode. So during the day, you prioritize speed and just keeping the English going.
But then how do you fix the errors?
You implement a separate review strategy. Maybe for 10 minutes before you go to sleep, you reflect. You think back. I remember I struggled with that phrase about the budget. How could I have said that better?
So you separate the practice of flow from the practice of correction.
You do. It trains both skill, speed, and accuracy without letting one get in the way of the other. And consistency is everything. Use your commute. Use time when you're doing chores. Make it a habit.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, what's phase 3?
Phase 3 tackles the moment of greatest weakness for the translation reflex, encountering a new word. We call this vocabulary acquisition through context.
You have to actively fight that urge to immediately look up the translation.
You have to. That reflex is so strong. So when you read or hear a new word, you must consciously resist that urge. Force your brain to stay inside the English system.
So what do you do instead? Just guess.
You start by making an educated guess. You use the context clues from the sentence or the paragraph around it to figure out the general meaning. Then, if you still need to check, you use an English-to-English dictionary.
The English-only rule.
The English-only rule, so critical, because it forces your brain to build the definition of the new English word using other English words you already know.
It creates a web of connections, all within English, instead of one single link back to your native language.
Precisely. Let's take a word like elated. You read a sentence. She was elated to hear she got the promotion. You can guess from the context it means very happy.
Right.
Then you look it up in an English learner's dictionary and it says feeling or expressing great happiness or triumph. You see example sentences. Now the word elated is linked in your mind to concepts like promotion, triumph, and great happiness. All in English.
You've understood it and reinforced it without ever leaving the language.
And that makes the memory so much stronger and more direct.
This is great. We're building the foundation. Is there a fourth phase here?
There is. It's about how you assemble your thoughts. You need to start thinking in chunks and phrases.
Moving beyond just single words.
Way beyond. This is a huge mistake learners make. They try to build every sentence from scratch, word by word. Native speakers don't do that.
No, we use pre-made blocks. Collocations, idioms, phrasal verbs.
We think in chunks. These are pre-packaged linguistic units that we can just pull off the shelf and use without thinking. It reduces the cognitive load massively.
So instead of thinking I, then am, then looking, then forward, then to, you just grab the whole chunk I'm looking forward to.
And it comes out instantly and sounds perfectly natural. This also helps you avoid those classic translation errors. For example, in many languages, you make a decision.
But in English, you make a decision.
Right. If you learn make a decision as a single chunk, you'll never make the mistake of saying do a decision, which is a common error that comes from translating word for word.
So how do you practice this?
When you make flashcards or study vocabulary, don't just put the single word. Put the word in its most common chunk. So for the word commit, your flashcard shouldn't just say commit.
It should say commit a crime or commit to a project.
Exactly. You learn the word and its natural partners together. This makes your internal monologue and your spoken English so much more fluid and natural.
So we've laid the internal groundwork. We're re-anchoring, building an inner monologue, and thinking in chunks. Now, how do we accelerate this? How do we really push the brain to make this the default?
Now we move from internal practice to external reality. We have to create an environment where thinking in English is not just an exercise, but a necessity. This is all about full sensory immersion.
You have to flood your brain with English.
You have to make it unavoidable. The more English input your brain gets, the more it will naturally start processing in English. We need a multi-sensory approach. Let's start with audio.
Podcasts, audiobooks.
Yes, but with a key strategy. Listen to things you are genuinely interested in. If you love history, listen to history podcasts in English. If you love tech, listen to tech reviews.
Because then your brain is focused on the content, not on the fact that you're practicing English.
Exactly. It makes the learning feel invisible. Your brain just gets used to the rhythm, the intonation, the patterns of the language passively.
And for visual strategies, obviously reading is key.
Non-negotiable. Read blogs, news sites, books in English. And a great tip for video content is to use English audio with English subtitles.
So you're seeing and hearing the words at the same time.
Yes. It forges a powerful link. And then as you get more comfortable, you turn the subtitles off. You force your ear to do all the work.
I have another one. A really simple but powerful one. Change the language on all your devices.
Oh, that's a fantastic one. Your phone, your computer, your social media apps. Change them all to English.
Every notification, every menu option becomes a tiny little English lesson. It's constant, low-stakes exposure.
And it all reinforces this idea of linking concepts directly. You see the little gear icon and you see the word settings. You're not translating it. You're just associating the image with the English word.
So that's the input side. But we have to produce output, too. That's where fluency really comes from.
It is. Now we need techniques that force your brain to produce English instantly, so fast that the translation detour isn't even an option.
Let's start with one that I think is really effective. Shadowing.
Shadowing is brilliant. For anyone who doesn't know, it means you listen to a native speaker and you repeat what they're saying in real time right after them, like their vocal shadow.
You try to copy their speed, their rhythm, their intonation, everything.
And the reason this works so well for TDE is that it creates a direct link between your ears and your mouth. You hear the sounds and you immediately activate the muscle memory to reproduce them.
There's no time to think. There's no time to analyze or translate.
Zero time. You are bypassing the analytical part of your brain and training the automatic procedural part.
What's another production technique?
Journaling, but with a specific method. We call it free writing.
Thinking on paper.
Yes. It's a low-pressure way to practice generating complete thoughts in English. You set a timer for, say, 10 or 15 minutes.
And you just write.
You write continuously. You do not stop. You don't worry about grammar. You don't look up words. You don't go back and correct things.
The goal is just flow. Getting the thoughts out in English.
Uninhibited flow. If you get stuck on a word, you just describe the idea in English or move on. This trains your brain to keep moving forward in English, to find a way to express itself without hitting a wall.
I love that. And I guess the final step is to put yourself in situations where you have no choice.
Forced immersion. You have to create English-only activities. Find a language partner and agree that for 1 hour you will only speak English. No exceptions.
Do role-playing scenarios. Pretend you're in a job interview or negotiating a deal.
Things that are a little bit stressful, where the pressure is on to respond quickly, that's when the translation crutch really breaks, and you're forced to rely on your new TDE skills.
Okay, so these are the big foundational techniques. But for the learners out there who feel like they're already doing a lot of this, are there any more advanced mental hacks we can use?
There are. Once you have that foundation, you can layer on some more sophisticated cognitive tricks to really cement TDE as your default mode.
Let's hear them.
The first one is a psychological trick. I call it the English zone ritual.
An English zone, okay.
Yeah. Before you do anything in English, a meeting, watch a movie, whatever, you take 10 seconds. You can even close your eyes, and you consciously tell yourself, okay, I am now entering the English zone. For the next hour, I will only think and process in English.
You're priming your brain, flipping a mental switch.
You're creating a clear boundary. It tells your brain which operating system to load, preventing that accidental bleed through from your native language.
I like that. It's very intentional. What's another hack?
Metacognitive questioning. This is what you do when you catch yourself translating.
Because it's going to happen.
It will. But instead of just getting frustrated, you use it as a teaching moment. You stop and you ask yourself, wait, I'm translating. How would a native speaker express this idea directly without my language's structure?
So you're not just correcting the mistake. You're actively trying to find the more natural, direct pathway.
You're turning an error into a discovery. It's an incredibly powerful self-correction tool.
That's great. What else?
A third hack is to change how you learn vocabulary. Move to learning synonym networks. Instead of just learning that happy translates to one word in your language, you learn the whole family of happy words within English. You learn joyful, elated, content, cheerful.
And you learn the subtle differences between them in English.
Yes, you study their nuances, their connotations, all using English examples. This builds an incredibly rich and flexible vocabulary inside the English system. So when you need to express a specific feeling, your brain doesn't just grab the one translated word.
It can pick the perfect English word for the moment.
It expands your expressive range exponentially without ever needing to leave the language.
That's a real high-level skill. One more?
One more. Analyzing structure directly. When you're reading and you come across a really long, complex sentence that confuses you,
the first instinct is to try and translate it piece by piece to figure it out.
resist that instinct. Instead, train yourself to break it down grammatically in English. Find the subject. Find the main verb. Find the object. Identify the subordinate clauses.
So you're strengthening your intuitive grasp of English syntax.
You're learning to see the architecture of the language directly, rather than trying to map it onto the architecture of your native tongue. It makes your TDE faster and, crucially, more accurate.
This all sounds amazing, but also really challenging. This is not a small undertaking.
It is not. And that brings us to what might be the most important part of this whole conversation, the psychological journey. This is about mental toughness.
Because you're fighting years, maybe decades, of deeply ingrained mental habits.
You are. So the first thing everyone needs to accept is the need for patience and persistence. This is not a straight line. You will have great days where you feel totally fluent and you'll have days where you feel like you've gone backwards.
That's the frustrating part.
It is, but it's part of the process.
Yeah.
And you have to be ready for what I call the necessary discomfort of the messy middle.
The messy middle, what happens there?
When you first decide to stop translating, when you take away that crutch, your English will probably get worse for a little while.
Wait, worse? That seems counterintuitive.
It feels that way, but it's actually a sign that it's working. You might hesitate more, your fluency might dip, you might make more mistakes. That's because the old comfortable system is gone and the new direct system is still being built. It's weak, it's clumsy.
So that feeling of being less articulate is actually a sign of growth.
It is the single best sign of growth. It means you are in the transition. You're out of your comfort zone. You have to push through that awkward phase, knowing that it's temporary.
And to do that, you have to let go of the fear of mistakes.
You have to give yourself permission to be imperfect. The main goal has to be communication and flow, not 100% grammatical perfection. Every single mistake you make while trying to think directly is just data.
It shows you where you need to strengthen the new pathway.
That's all it is, an opportunity to learn.
So what happens when you do relapse? When you're stressed and you catch yourself translating again? How do you handle that without getting discouraged?
With radical self-compassion, the worst thing you can do is beat yourself up.
That negative self-talk, I'm so bad at this, I'll never get it.
That just creates anxiety, and anxiety makes your brain cling even tighter to the old, comfortable translation habit. So when it happens, you just observe it without judgment. There's that old habit.
And then you gently redirect.
You just gently guide your thoughts back to English and recommit to the process. No drama, no self-criticism. And at the same time, you have to actively celebrate the small wins.
Acknowledge the progress.
Yes! Did you get through your whole commute with your inner monologue? Did you understand a whole scene in a movie without translating? Acknowledge it. That positive reinforcement is what helps make the new neural pathways stronger.
And finally, I suppose you need to have a system to make sure all this new learning sticks.
You need review and consolidation. This is how you move things from conscious effort to automatic skill.
So this is where tools like spaced repetition systems come in.
SRS apps are perfect for this. They help you review those vocabulary chunks right before you're about to forget them. It's incredibly efficient at moving knowledge into your long-term automatic memory,
making those phrases instantly available when you need them for your TDE.
And I'd add one final ritual, a daily recap ritual. At the end of the day, spend 5 or 10 minutes just mentally reviewing your day, what you did, who you talked to, how you felt, all of it in English.
It's a final, low-stakes practice session before you sleep.
It reinforces the habit and ensures that the last thoughts you have are in your target language.
Wow, what an extensive deep dive. We've gone from understanding the cognitive cost of the translation trap all the way to advanced mental hacks like the English zone ritual.
I think the core message is really clear. Making the effort to start translating is probably the single most important leap you can take towards genuine, effortless fluency.
It's about more than just being understood.
Oh, much more. It's about moving from being an observer of the language to actually inhabiting it, living inside the English linguistic world.
The immediate benefits are obvious. You'll be faster, more spontaneous, more confident. But what's the deeper reward here?
The deepest reward is that you get to experience the culture on its own terms. You get the humor in a movie, the nuance in a novel, the emotion in a song directly. It's a level of connection that translation can just never give you.
We want you to stop calculating and start communicating.
Think about it for a second. All that brain power you currently use to translate back and forth, just imagine what you could do with all that freed up mental energy. What kind of connections could you make?
So the challenge for everyone listening is simple. Start small. Pick one of these techniques, maybe just the re-anchoring, and start today. Flip that switch.
That's the first step.
If you found this deep dive helpful and are ready to unlock your fluent, spontaneous English self, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us.